I came here to heal, I came here to grow. Lesson in love, they helped me let go. I chose this path, I chose this time. Everything I need, I hold inside. I came here to heal, I came here to grow. Lesson in love, they helped me let go. I chose this path, I chose this time. Everything I need, I hold inside. Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Me, the Art of Starting Again, with me, your host, Tisha Michelle. All right, so today I'm going to open the door to something that feels like a homecoming. So I'm starting a brand new mini series right here on the podcast, and it's going to be called Seeing with Your Soul. Now, if you have been with me for a while, you are an OG, you know that Seeing with Your Soul was actually the podcast before this. It was raw, real, unfiltered. It was me sharing openly about spirituality, purpose, and the deeper questions we're often too afraid to ask out loud. And over time, that show evolved into Rebuilding Me, because starting again, rebuilding, reinventing, that became my lived experience. But the truth is, spirituality has always been the foundation. It's like that thread that runs through everything that I've done. And I've been feeling this pull, this nudge to bring that energy back. I mean, there was even one point I was like, I should change the name and go back. So Seeing with Your Soul is gonna return as a series, and it's gonna be a series within this podcast, a place where we'll have the kind of conversations that crack something open inside of you, the kind of conversations that help you step back into alignment with your deepest self. So, um, I want to kick this off by sharing a story about Oprah Winfrey and Gary Zukav. So, in the early 1990s, Oprah was in her own spiritual awakening, and she was asking the bigger questions: who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And in that search, she came across Gary Zukav's book called The Seed of the Soul. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When she wanted to bring him on her show, her producers were like, nah, America ain't ready. People don't want to hear about soul and spirituality. But Oprah knew in her soul that this was a conversation people actually needed. So she followed her intuition anyway. And not only did she have Gary on once, twice, she had him on 40 times, right? She made talking about the soul mainstream. And when my spiritual awakening happened, so December 29th, 2017, best friend Gloria died. And I had that first call with a medium in January of 2018, and everything just changed. So I was the beginning of my soul's journey, well, consciously aware of it. And one of the things that had popped up was Oprah and her talking about Gary Zukav. And then there was this book called The Seed of the Soul. So that was like one of the first books that I purchased, and like when I was on like my awakening. Right. So yeah, so that was in 2018. Well, there's an episode on Oprah's new podcast that's out now. I want to say the time it was like 2 months ago. So she was talking about Gary Zukav on there and his book and all around that. Well, there's an episode from 1998 where Gary Zukav explains the difference between the soul and the personality. And Oprah is showing this on her current podcast. She's showing the 1998, like little clips from there and stuff. And the way that he says it is so powerful. I couldn't even possibly do it any justice at all. So I'm not even going to try. So I'm going to let you hear it for yourself.
This way, every fleet of ships that sails has a mothership, one ship that knows where all of them are going and sets the direction for all of those ships to sail. Mm-hmm. This doesn't mean that the mothership determines what happens on each of the other ships in the fleet. Life on one of the ships might be mostly pleasant. On yet another ship, it might be mostly unpleasant. Now imagine the mothership is the biggest ship you can imagine. It's a city afloat, magnificent. And now imagine that the rest of the boats, the ships, are not really ships, but little boats. Mm-hmm. The mothership is your soul, and you are one of the little boats. The mothership knows why.
That's a very nice analogy. Really.
The mothership knows why you are in the water. You may not know all of the time. The mothership knows why you encounter storms. Your job, while you have the awesome privilege of being a little boat, is to learn how to sail in the same direction as your mothership. Because you can choose and create anything you want. You can sail in the opposite direction if you want. That is a sure way to find rough water. But as you sail in the direction that your mothership wants to sail, your life fills with meaning and purpose and love. You are excited about being alive. You are excited about the people you are with and what you are doing.
Because you're following the mothership.
That's right. Meaning is your inner compass that always aligns itself with the direction that your mothership wants to go.
Okay, meaning.
Meaning, your inner sense of meaning and purpose.
Say that again.
Meaning is your inner compass.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got that much.
And as you follow your inner sense of meaning, you are sailing in the same direction that your mothership wants you to sail.
Okay, so all the people who, because I feel like I'm following the mothership.
Yes.
I do feel that. And that's a beautiful analogy. I don't know where that came from for you, but that's really good. Thank you for that. And that's wonderful for so many people who have trouble with religious terms because they feel religion has failed them for whatever reason. But what about all the people who don't feel that there is any meaning, who are lost?
Try something else. I was one of those people. I was angry, bitter, disdainful, judgmental, controlling. I think I left a few out, but that's the way I looked at the world. I was doing the things I thought I should be doing, and my life didn't have any meaning to it. And I used to think, is this all there is? I like that song. It expresses me. There must be more to life than this. That's what a life feels like when you are not paying attention inside to what you really want to do. Maybe you are creating a business because your father wants you to. Maybe you are having a family because your mother wanted you to.
Or maybe you're having a family because everything in society says that when you get to be a certain age, that's what you're supposed to do.
Wasn't that dope, you guys? All right, so when I heard that, Spirit gave me my own analogy from my own life. Like it was like this download. And what it was being back in the military. And when you're in a convoy, and that's the, if you don't know, that's when all the vehicles are in one line. You've probably seen it on TV and they're just riding through and you just see all the tanks and everything in one line, right? So when you're in a convoy, you move as one. There's protection, order, purpose. But if you are vehicle number 8 and you decide, you know what, I'm going to turn off and go my own way, you are immediately in unknown territory. It's unsafe and you are out of alignment with the mission. And that's exactly what happened in my life. And as I was listening to Gary Zukav explain it, and then Spirit gave me my own like analogy, then it just showed my whole these past couple years. I was like, dang. All right, so when my awakening first happened, like everything was just different. I at that point I used to say like, oh, I'm just skateboarding through life. I might have even said that on earlier podcasts. I was like, I'm just skating through life. Like the grass is greener, the sky is blue, bluer, and everything was just like just different. And I started sharing my gifts, the gifts that I did not know that I had. I was in alignment and it felt easy. And there was even points where your girl felt like a fraud. I was like, I'll do like a reading on someone and I'll be like, I totally just made all that stuff up. And then, and I know that I didn't because they were like, oh my gosh, like, how did you know that? This is what this means and da da da. But it was just so like, just easy. And I was trying I wasn't even trying. I was like doing so many different things that was just coming up, and it was like, oh, you host these workshops, and and we did a workshop on like journaling, and we like journaled together. I mean, it was just these different things. I had this segment called Talk with Tisha on Thursdays, and I would just have a topic, and I'd go live on Instagram and talk about it, and then I even had guests, and I'd bring them on, and we'd have that conversation. And the person who helped crack me open, that medium, I actually had her on as a guest, too. And it would just be to the point where like I'd be talking live by myself. Not well, yes, I didn't have a guest. And then like people were like commenting, and then I just say to the person, I'm like, hey, do you want to just come up here? And then, come up there and we're just having this conversation. And it was easy. And then there were I was having VIP days, like people who wanted to like really get to the nitty gritty and and work with me and have me actually get to that point, help them, transform. Of course, I was hosting the podcast. Then I was, led to do retreats, and then I had retreats. I had retreats in the States, and then I had retreat in Jamaica, and then in the Bahamas, right? And I was doing hypnosis, and I was doing all these different things. I had so many different modalities, but like the mission was still like the same. Help people remember who they are. Show them a different perspective. You know, um, hold up that mirror. In that sense, right? And in exchange, people were paying. I mean, some of these things were free, but people were exchanging we were exchanging energy, and it happened to be in currency. And honestly, it was the easiest way that I've ever made money in my life. And I really didn't even think about that till like early this year. I was like, wait a minute, that was the easiest money that I've ever made in my life, because I was just being natural. Everything was just natural, and it just flowed. But then my nervous system went into panic mode and was like, bro, this is unsafe. No. So instead of staying in the convoy of my soul, I veered off into real estate. And from that point on, it's been like walking uphill in mud. Everything was resistant, right? So like look at this. So I decide, you know what? Not that I didn't want to do this work anymore. I was just like, I'm burned out, I'm tired, this is like a lot. And I just like started falling back, but I only started falling back when I started getting into real estate, because then I found myself, all my energy and attention was in real estate. So all my spiritual and transformational work was kind of taking the back seat. So I mean, there was to the point that people were like, oh hey, I wanted to like send someone like to you, are you taking a people? And I was like, no, I'm not doing any more readings right now. And then I would just do certain people that would hit me up, and I'm like, yeah, I got you, that type of thing. But things started just like dwindling down. And one, I didn't really realize it. And two, I was just so focused. I was about to say like I didn't care, but it wasn't that I didn't care. I just cared more over here in like real estate and everything, you guys. I'm gonna unpack some of that stuff too at some point. Let me just get to the end of some of these things in my life, and then I can actually come back and be like, okay. But it's been rough. It's literally been rough, and it's been resistance and obstacles and crazy shit. I mean, even to a crazy neighbor on a property that I have that I'm still in litigation with, and it's been like over a year. From This is literally just someone that is just unkind. That's it. Unkind, and it has cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of, no cap, dollars. And that's not even to compare the energy that has been spent. And I said, oh my goodness. So when Gary Zukav was explaining about the little boat, rearing off, and I was like, oh, that's what I did. And this is what Spirit's showing me, is like, you, you reared off. You went off path. And if you have been listening to me for a while, or follow me on social or anything of that, you would have heard me say this numerous amounts of time. that when you're like, well, I don't know which way to go. And I'm like, look, all paths will lead you exactly where you are meant to be. It's just that some paths may take a little bit longer and some will have a lot more painful lessons. And your girl is experiencing that. I said, God, really? I know experience is the greatest teacher, and that's what I speak from, experience. But dang, did I have to experience that to back up what I be saying? Like, yeah, you did, right? And so, yeah, so it's been wild. So, Spirit showed that to me. And in that moment, everything made sense. And the weight of the world that I had been feeling, even though nothing had like changed in the um current reality, it was the thought behind it. And it was like, first I was like, dang, I can't believe I fumbled like that, like, and went over there. And it's not to say that where I read off like that I should never did real estate was just not meant to be the main thing. And that was what the thing was going that way and pushing this to the side. And that's why it's rocky waters and stuff like that over there, because I made that the thing. Well, anyway, so when I was getting the download and it was just like showing me all this, I was like, dang. I was like, okay. So the lesson in this is now I know when I have gone off path and I've went on a detour. I know what it feels like when I'm not in alignment with my soul, and it does not feel good at all, right? But here's the thing. Life will always bring obstacles, but there's a difference between natural challenges and like constant resistance. So, for example, if you've heard my story, um, like back in August of 2019, when I moved to Arizona, I left with $196.50. So I didn't know how we were going to make it there, where we were going to stay, where were we actually like going, right? I just had an address in the GPS because I had been there one time before, and I was like, at least I need something in the GPS so I can just head on out, right? So I didn't know any of these, but things aligned. People showed up, opportunities open, like things just flow. Like for example, this is early in the beginning of me doing like readings and stuff. So I didn't even have like a booking site and stuff. People were just like hitting me up from like referrals, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm driving down the street trying to look at the calendar, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it then, that type of thing. Well, we were traveling and someone had hit me up and was like, and this is when again, like I'll put the episode where I talk about it in the show notes for those of you who haven't heard that episode and want to check it out. Um because I don't know it off the top of my head. But anyway, this is when we're traveling and the cell phones get turned off. So no cell phone and we're traveling, right? Well, we pull over, gas station and hook up to Wi-Fi. So messages are coming through, right? iPhone. And one was a message from someone, and she was just like, hey, I just wanted to know if I could like book a reading, get a reading with you. And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, but the only thing is it's gonna be like around midnight because of the time she got off work. So I don't know if that's gonna be too late for you. I was like, oh no, that's perfect. She didn't know I was traveling to the West Coast, so it wasn't gonna be midnight for me. It's gonna be midnight for her. It's like great. She's like, okay, well, is it cool if I cash app you? Sure. Boom. Cash apps me. Here's some money. This is like God sprinkling the stuff. Well, I didn't even do her reading until like 2 months later. Like 2 months later. That was through her because she had to work. She kept canceling and rescheduling. But what it was, she doesn't even, till this day, she doesn't even know she was a part of that journey. Like her reaching out and paying me now. And I didn't even do the reading until a while afterwards. So, the thing is that you're gonna have these obstacles, right? Um, and everything just starts to flow, even though you see these obstacles and stuff. Um, there's still flow. There's still soul alignment. Or even to the point that the cell phones were turned off, and but as long as you didn't touch that GPS, you still had the GPS. So we were able to make it until there was a sign that said it was a detour. And we were really, really close to the Airbnb. But it rerouted us. And then because it rerouted, it disrupted it. And we didn't have no service. So it cut it off. But my son had these hidden map skills, and he pulls up the map and he gets us to where we have to go. Right. So it was like, yeah, there were obstacles along the way, but because I trusted and I stepped out on faith and I was listening to God telling me where to go, everything just worked out. It was almost like a red carpet was just unraveled all the way like through. But then there's times when no matter what you do, it feels like you're forcing. You can send 10 emails and nothing happens. You work harder, you push more, doors just keep slamming shut. The resistance isn't always like a sign to push harder. Because sometimes it's your soul's way of saying, hey, you left the convoy. I'm going to need you to come on back over here. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's going to continue to be rough there. So now I want you to pause here and be really honest. Like following your soul sounds beautiful, but it can also be terrifying because when you follow your soul, things in your life are 100% going to change. Some relationships may end. You may outgrow friendships, partnerships, or even family dynamics. Where you live may shift. You may be called to move across the country or even to another part of the world. Like your career may take a sharp left turn. You might realize the identity that you've been clinging to isn't who you are anymore. And y'all, that can be scary AF because the ego, that little sneaky little thing, the ego craves safety and control. But the soul craves expansion and truth. So following your soul means letting go of certainty. It means stepping into the unknown and trusting that something greater is guiding you. And maybe you're listening and thinking, like, I don't know if I've ever actually experienced what it's like to follow my soul. And that's okay. Sometimes we don't realize it until we look back. And I want you to think about the times when things just clicked, when the right people showed up, when you felt fully alive, when you lost track of time because you were so immersed in what you were doing. That's your soul. And it doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's that quiet nudge, that little whisper that says, "Go here, try this, speak up, rest." So, how do you know when it's your soul and not just fear or desire? For me personally, the soul feels expansive, even if it's scary. Like starting a podcast and being the person that growing up that people are like, oh, she's stuck up, oh, she's the shy one, she has an attitude, why is she not talking? But the whole time it's like I'm trying to find my voice. I'm also observing people, protecting my energy. And I didn't know all of this at the time, right? To express that in there. But when I look at everything, that's just what was happening. But the thing that people were saying, oh, she don't talk to nobody. Like she stuck up. Like who does she think she is? Why is she so quiet? Oh, the quiet one, right? Oh, those are the ones you can't trust. You can't trust those. That one because they're always so quiet. There's the dumb things that people say. And here I am, I have a podcast that's been downloaded over 40,000 times, 15 countries, right? Had some dope guests, just like, what? What? Who's that? Yeah, that's the soul. That's that because it's something that's scary that the human me is like, who do you think you are? Who's going to listen to what you have to say? Right? So it feels expansive. It's scary. It pulls you forward. And then when it's a fear contracts you. The soul feels aligned with truth, love, service, and not proving yourself or running from something. And for me, the biggest sign, it's flow. When you are in soul alignment, the path may not be easy, but there's like a rhythm to it. The synchronicities happen, support shows up, the right opportunities arrive at the right time, and you're like, what just happened? Like, what? I'll share this story with you. So my oldest son was playing football, middle school, and he really started rocking out in high school. And he wanted to go D1. He was like, I'm a D1 athlete. I'm a D1 athlete. So he had some schools looking at him, some D3 schools and some D2 schools that like really, really wanted him, but no D1 was on like the radar. And at the time, their coach wasn't pushing for them. The coach wasn't pushing at all. Like, I mean, that coach actually said, like, in so many words, was like, bro, you need to just hang it up. You're not gonna go D1, so you might as well just accept one of these others. But my son was like, what? Nah, that's just that fuel. Like, you crazy. So anyhow, I started looking at coaches and stuff that were on Twitter, because at the time the kids couldn't talk to the football, like they couldn't talk to them and stuff, but I'm the mom, and so I'm like hitting people up on like Twitter, because we're like, okay, looking at schools and different stuff or whatever. And I'm sliding in their DMs and like, oh, my son, he's a wide receiver. He's 6, da da da. He weighs this much. This is what he runs his 40. I got all this because I'm an athlete's mom. Like, I was diehard into this, right? So this coach DMs me back, and he's like, what's your number? I'm gonna call you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. And I give my number. He calls me. He was like, I'm actually in a meeting right now. He said, but I had to step out because I'm so intrigued with like how you're like riding for like your son. So he starts asking me these questions, and he was like, look, I want to invite y'all up. And I had already sent his film, like his highlight reels. So he invites us up, and we go up to the schools in Baltimore, and it was Morgan State. So, I'm doing the stuff beforehand where you got to request the transcript, and you got to do all that stuff, right? So I did all that from the part that I need to do as a parent. He did his stuff. So we go up there, but sorry, let me pause and rewind. That same psychic medium that I had that reading with after Gloria died, because I just wanted to hear something from her so bad that I was willing to step into the unknown, because I didn't want nothing to do with any of that. Well, talking to her, she brings it up about this football, and she's like, what are y'all stressed about? And like, oh, it was just so wild, because like she doesn't let you talk. She would actually shush you. She'd be like, shush, you try to say something, she's like, yeah, you can't lead or give her anything. She's just giving you this stuff. And she said something about Baltimore. And oh my gosh, this is so crazy. This is why you're supposed to write this stuff down. Y'all just follow it. Follow me, okay? I just really thought about how this part actually happened. So she brings up this part and she says Baltimore. She's like, I don't know, something about Baltimore. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she got that part wrong, and everything else she was doing, she was hitting. But we had nothing on the radar. We knew nothing about Baltimore. I asked his coach, because we had hired a private wide receiver coach, ex NFL player. And I was like, do you know anybody, any schools, and any coaches, something in Baltimore? He was like, not off the top of my head. I don't, I can look or whatever. Well, my cousin, this is how it actually happened. I'm tripping. So my cousin called me, and I remember being in the outlet, and I was like, huh. Wasn't going to answer at first because it was so loud in there, but I answered, and he was like, oh, what's up, cuzzo? So we're talking, and he was like, yo, he was like, Mike going to Morgan State? And I was like, where's that at? What's that? He was like, oh, the college in Baltimore. And I'm like, my heart just like, what? And I was like, no. I said, no, we don't know nothing about that. He was like, oh, because the girl he was with at the time, her son was playing, and he was on a visit or something at Morgan State, and they were talking about wide receiver that they had, or they were looking at, or something, from Richmond, Virginia. So he was like, they got to be talking about Mike. And I was like, no, I don't know. No, no, he's not going there. Then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, Jessica said something about Baltimore. So that's when I went on Twitter. I was already on Twitter hitting up other people and stuff, but that was how I reached out to the wide receiver coach at Morgan State. and I don't even remember what I said. And then I reached out to another coach. So now we bring it back to the story. So that coach was like, "Hey, I want to invite you up." Come to find out that the one that said, "Can I call you?" was the head coach. Because the wide receiver coach ain't never even hit me back. Whatever. So he invites us up. We go up there. We're in, but we have to go to like the academic part first, like registrar or something like that. Go up there to check to see what else is left that needs to be done for him to get into the school. So she's looking through. She's like, "We need the transcript," and I'm like, "Here," and I give her the envelope, and she's like, "No, it needs to be sent to us in an envelope and all this stuff." And I said, "Well, I did that already, and I have my copy and stuff, and I had it in an envelope closed up." And and she was like, "We don't have it yet," and I was like, "Oh." So I was like, "You sure you can't take it?" So she takes it. She goes, "Oh, actually, I can take this because it is in an envelope." And I'm looking at my son. I'm like, "What?" And then she was like, "You need to speak with Miss Such and Such." And we're like, "Okay." And then she was like, "Oh, she's actually here." And we're like, "What?" So we get into the office, right? And she was like, "Man," she's like, "I'm normally not here. I just happen to be here. Like today, I'm not here. Whatever day of the week it was, she said she's normally not there." Okay, so me and my son look at each other like this is spooky. She logs into the computer and she looks at all the things and she's like, "Okay." She's like, "Yeah, okay, here's your testing. We got this, you got that. Oh, we have that." She's like, "Okay, you're good. You're in." We're like, "Wait, what?" She was like, "You're in." I was like, is he like in?" She was like, "He's in." She's like, "I'm gonna call coach now and let him know that you're good to go." And I'm like, "Okay." So me and my son walk out because now we got to go up to that to meet the coach, right? Because it's like steps you had to do. So when we're walking out, we're just quiet looking at each other like this is spooky. And I was like, I looked at him and I said, "This is what it looks like when you're following God's plan. The red carpet just gets rolled out." So now we get over there. So with the coach, he's like, "I got the phone call. I say everything was good." He's like, "I want to meet you to introduce you to the staff." So they take me to like one part and stuff, and then they take my son over there. But now I'm talking to the head coach, and he's like, "What's the support system like?" And doing all that stuff. So now we're back connected. So when we're connected and it's like the wide receiver coach, I said a little slick something. I say, "Yeah, I sent you a DM too. You ain't never respond or whatever, right?" So he's like laughing. So they had been like studying his play, his tapes, his highlights and stuff. And then that coach was like, "You remind me of somebody." He's like, "I've been like just watching like your film and stuff. Like, gosh, you just remind me of somebody." He was like who taught you like that play? And he was like, "Oh, my coach." He was like, "Billy." He was like, "Billy?" And he was like, "Billy McMullen?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I knew it. I knew it." So now the wide receiver coach knows his outside coach. And they are like, he also like trained him on some stuff. And we're like, what? We're like, this is so spooky. Like this whole thing was just so just spooky. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because it's like, what just happened? Like she's like, "No, we need to have it. It has to come. It hasn't come in." Then like, "Oh wait, we can take this." And then to the lady who's not normally there on that day happens to be there. And then when we get in there, the wide receiver coach actually knows his outside coach that we hired and stuff. Like it was crazy. Like the whole thing was crazy, from taking it all the way back from Jessica saying something about Baltimore. And we're like, "What? I don't know nobody in Baltimore. We ain't even thinking about nothing like that." He was overlooking at I don't even remember the school, North Carolina. Um yeah, so it was like, what, to my cousin calling me saying this thing, and I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about or whatever." But it was just it was wild, but that's what it looks like. It's like the synchronicity. Everything is happening. Everything is just popping up. And there's an obstacle, then you overcome it. Obstacle, you overcome it. And not like the long drawn out. It's just like, oh boom. Oh, actually psych, that wasn't an obstacle. I just removed that. And it's like, what in the world? Like it's such a beautiful thing. And I know as I'm sharing this, you guys have your own story. So think about it. That is not a coincidence. Like I don't believe in coincidences at all. There's signs everywhere. It's like I like to tell people, nothing ever comes out the blue. There was always a sign. It's just, were you listening to it? Like, what's the thing, right? All right. So here is my question for you. Are you in the convoy of your soul, or have you drifted off? And if you've drifted, are you willing to be brave enough to go back? You know what I mean? Because yes, following your soul may mean things in your life are going to change. No, I'm going to tell you, they are absolutely going to change, because you're going to see life differently through a different lens. But the truth is, anything you, if you could see me air quote, lose, wasn't meant to, it wasn't meant to sustain you anyway. And then, like, what you gain is alignment, and what you also gain is freedom, and what you gain is space. And this is what seeing with your soul is about. Real, raw, spiritual conversations that remind you of who you are and call you back into alignment. So I'm excited to begin this journey again with you, and interrupt our rebuilding to have these conversations. So until next time, I want you to keep trusting, keep listening inward, and keep seeing with your soul. Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Rebuilding Me, the sacred art of starting again. If this episode spoke to your soul, be sure to subscribe, leave me a review, and most importantly, share it with someone who's on their own journey of remembering who they are. And just know, you're not alone, and you never have to start from scratch. You're starting again, but this time with wisdom. Until next time, stay open, stay grounded, and trust your rebuild. And if you need help navigating this journey, make sure to visit www.tishamichelleofficial.com and book a sacred reset session.